You walk through the world believing that your logic is an infallible tool for unraveling reality. But Richard Feynman left a disturbing warning. Your brain didn't evolve to understand the universe. It evolved so you wouldn't be eaten by a predator on the savannah. There's a biological barrier preventing you from seeing what happens at the heart of matter. Prepare to discover that your mind is a prisoner of the senses and that the true face of existence is something you simply weren't designed to conceive. Prepare to face the most humbling and at the same time most liberating truth of our species. We are biologically blind to the universe. Richard Feynman, a master at translating the impossible, made it clear that humanity's basic mistake is trusting its eyes. Our senses were not forged for truth, they were forged for utility. We evolved to detect ripe fruit, escape predators in the savannah, and identify mates. Nothing in our biology prepared us to observe the frenetic dance of electrons or the invisible curvature of space-time. At a fundamental level, reality has no colors, smells, or solid forms. It is made of abstract structures that the human mind simply cannot process. This is where the most addictive and disturbing concept of modern science comes in: mathematics as a cognitive prosthesis. Imagine you were born in a hermetically sealed room, without windows, but someone hands you a device that translates the frequencies of light from outside into musical notes. You will never see the blue of the sky or the red of a sunset, but through music, you can understand the harmony and variation of light. For Feynman, mathematics is exactly that device. It is not just a school subject or a boring set of numbers on a blackboard. It is the only sensory organ that allows us to see the hidden workings of the cosmos. Our brain is a limited piece of hardware. When we try to use our visual imagination to understand an electron, we automatically create the image of a tiny ball spinning around a nucleus. But mathematics tells us, with merciless clarity, that the electron is not a tiny ball. It is a wave function, a cloud of probabilities that exists in a state of superposition. Your imagination freezes when trying to visualize something that is in two places at the same time. But the equation does not hesitate. Mathematics is the intellectual hook that allows us to grasp the invisible and the impossible. Without this prosthesis, we would be like primates trying to understand the physics of a black hole using only touch and smell. Mathematics as our only real vision, the prosthesis of thought. Prepare to face the most humbling and, at the same time, most liberating truth of our species. We are biologically blind to the universe. Richard Feynman, a master at translating the impossible, made it clear that humanity's basic mistake is trusting its eyes. Our senses were not forged for truth, they were forged for utility. We evolved to detect ripe fruit, escape predators in the savannah, and identify mates. Nothing in our biology prepared us to observe the frenetic dance of electrons or the invisible curvature of space-time. At a fundamental level, reality has no colors, smells, or solid forms. It is made of abstract structures that the human mind simply cannot process. This is where the most addictive and disturbing concept of modern science comes in: mathematics as a cognitive prosthesis. Imagine you were born in a hermetically sealed room without windows, but someone hands you a device that translates the frequencies of light from outside into musical notes. You will never see the blue of the sky or the red of a sunset, but through music, you can understand the harmony and variation of light. For Feynman, mathematics is exactly that device. It is not just a school subject or a boring set of numbers on a blackboard. It is the only sensory organ that allows us to see the hidden workings of the cosmos. Our brain is a limited piece of hardware. When we try to use our visual imagination to understand an electron, we automatically create the image of a tiny ball spinning around a nucleus. But mathematics tells us, with merciless clarity, that the electron is not a tiny ball. It is a wave function, a cloud of probabilities that exists in a state of superposition. Your imagination freezes when trying to visualize something that is in two places at the same time, but the equation does not hesitate. Mathematics is the intellectual hook that allows us to grasp the invisible and the impossible. Without this prosthesis, we would be like primates trying to understand the physics of a black hole using only touch and smell. Almost no one understands that mathematics is the only language the universe speaks without accent and without ambiguity. Feynman explained that if we depended only on words, we would be lost in imprecise analogies forever. The words wave and particle are merely linguistic crutches we use to try to describe phenomena that are neither one thing nor the other. They are macroscopic labels that we try to attach to the microscopic world. Mathematics, on the other hand, describes reality with a precision bordering on mysticism. Think about it. How is it possible that a symbol written on paper by a human being can predict the existence of a particle that no one has ever seen? The answer is that mathematics is not a human invention, but a discovery of the logical structure of reality. It is a narrative without holes, a perfect script where each variable is a character with a defined role in maintaining the fabric of space-time. Through Maxwell's equations or Feynman's quantum electrodynamics, we can predict the behavior of light with an accuracy of 1 part in a billion. This is not just intelligence, it is the use of a tool that extends our consciousness beyond the boundaries of flesh and bone. In a good suspense script, the tension arises from what the protagonist knows but cannot see. In science, we live in this state of constant suspense. Mathematics is the radar that warns us about the existence of black holes, gravitational waves, and antimatter decades before we have any technology to detect them. It is our sixth sense, an artificial extension that allows us to navigate through extra dimensions and curved times that our neurons, made of instinct and necessity, could never conceive. This dependence creates a profound existential conflict. How can we trust something we cannot visualize? Most people give up on understanding modern physics because they try to see what can only be calculated. Feynman challenges us to abandon this sensory ego. He shows us that mathematics allows us to operate the universe without needing to understand it intuitively. It's like piloting a modern airplane using only instruments during a blind storm. You don't see the runway, you don't see the horizon, but you trust the numbers on the panel because they are more real than the darkness outside. Feynman's conclusion on this topic is a shocking act of humility. Mathematics is not an accessory to science, it is the very operating system of reality. Almost no one understands that the universe has no obligation whatsoever to be visualizable, but it does have an absolute obligation to be logical and consistent. By accepting mathematics as our only real vision, we stop trying to tame the cosmos with our limited primate perceptions. We accept that we are deficient beings using an infinite tool. The mistake was thinking that mathematics was something difficult or boring. The truth is that it is the only thing that makes the universe bearable and intelligible. It is the light that shines where our minds find only emptiness and absurdity. Thanks to this cognitive prosthesis, we have been able to build the technological civilization in which we live today. We don't see atoms, but we calculate their energy and illuminate our cities. We don't see the folds of space, but we calculate their orbits and send probes beyond the solar system. Mathematics is the ultimate proof that, although we are prisoners of a brain that was not made to understand the universe, we were ingenious enough to build the glasses that allow us to read it. This in-depth analysis provides the necessary depth for high-impact content, uniting science and philosophy. Would you like me to give the topic the average-scale paradox the same epic treatment, or would you prefer to move on to finalizing the project? Prepare yourself for the final blow to your intellectual pride. Richard Feynman, the man who drew the invisible, left a lesson that most people refuse to accept. The universe is not just strange, it is unimaginable. The fundamental error of humanity is its addiction to visualization. We believe that understanding something is the same as forming a mental image of it. We want the electron to be a tiny ball, the atom to be a miniature solar system, and space-time to be a stretched sheet. But the stark truth of modern physics is that nature has no obligation whatsoever to resemble anything you've ever seen. We are facing a reality without mental image, a domain where your brain, designed to process light, shadow, and form, simply overheats and shuts down. Our brain is a high-performance graphics processor, but with extremely limited software. For millions of years, natural selection has favored minds that could create quick visual models. That yellow spot among the leaves is a leopard. Because of this, we have become addicted to visual analogies. When science presents us with the quantum world, our first reaction is to ask, but what does it look like? Feynman explained that this question is a category mistake. At the fundamental level, things don't look like anything. The concept of appearance depends on light hitting an object and reaching your eyes. But how can you talk about the appearance of a photon, which is light itself? How can you visualize the shape of an electron, if shape is a macroscopic concept that doesn't exist at that scale? Almost no one understands that, when trying to imagine the subatomic, you are trying to describe a symphony using only the sense of smell. You can say that music smells good, but that's a convenient lie to hide your inability to hear. The universe is not made of things, but of probabilistic events that have no color, texture, or outline. Imagine a suspense script where the antagonist is an entity that has no body, volume, or defined location. It is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. For a filmmaker, this is a visual nightmare. For Richard Feynman, this is reality. In quantum mechanics, we deal with wave-particle duality, but the term itself is already a trap. We use wave because we know ocean waves. We use particle because we know grains of sand. However, the quantum object is neither one thing nor the other. It is something for which we have neither a word nor an image. It is a reality without mental image. When you try to imagine a particle passing through two slits at the same time, your mind tries to create an image of division or ghosting. But mathematics says there is no division. There is a superposition of states. Your biological hardware crashes because it lacks a renderer for non-locality. You are trying to run a reality file in a format that your human operating system does not recognize. This conflict creates a vacuum of understanding that most people try to fill with mysticism or denial. But Feynman challenges us to simply accept the absurdity. In screenwriting theory, there is the concept of MacGuffin, something that all the characters pursue, but that the audience never fully understands. In Feynman's physics, the atom is the ultimate MacGuffin. We know it sustains every cell in your body, every star in the sky, and every thought you have, but no one has ever seen an atom as it truly is. What we see are representations, electron shadows, and mathematical models. Existential tension arises from this. We are made of something we cannot conceive. Almost no one understands that the solidity of the world is a controlled hallucination of the brain. If you could remove the filter of the average scale and see reality without mental images, you wouldn't see objects. You would see a whirlwind of force fields, vacuum fluctuations, and formless energetic interactions. Horror and beauty walk hand in hand when we realize that the clarity of our daily lives is just a thin film over an ocean of pure abstraction. The universe operates at a frequency of pure probability, where being is replaced by being able to be. If we cannot imagine it, how can we know it? Herein lies Feynman's genius. He understood that when the mental image dies, mathematics is born as our only salvation. If you cannot visualize the curvature of a 10-dimensional space, the equation can describe it with absolute perfection. Mathematics is the roadmap that needs no scenery. The conclusion is a humbling shock that should change the way you look in the mirror. You are a limited observer, equipped with a biological camera that only captures a ridiculous fraction of the truth. Accepting that reality cannot be imagined is not a defeat for science, but its greatest triumph. It is the moment when humankind stops projecting its fantasies of bubbles and waves onto the cosmos and begins to respect nature in its naked strangeness. The universe is not a stage set for your understanding. It is a vibrant mystery that operates beyond your capacity for visualization. Feynman taught us that true intelligence lies not in imagining the impossible, but in having the courage to work with it, calculate it, and admire it, even knowing that our minds can never capture its true face. The end of the mental image is the beginning of true wisdom. Richard Feynman didn't give us these truths to make us feel small or incapable. He gave us the key to true intellectual freedom. When you accept that the universe works beyond the capacity of your mind, you break the chains of biological arrogance. We spend our entire lives trying to force reality to make sense within our primate logic, and it is in this futile effort that frustration and fear of the unknown are born. The real value of understanding the limits of your brain is knowing that You don't need to understand everything to be a part of everything. Science is not about visual certainties, it's about courage. The courage to admit that we are blindly guided by mathematics. Mystery is the fuel. If the universe were simple enough for your hardware to process completely, it would be too small to contain the grandeur of life. Feynman's conclusion is an invitation to wonder. The universe is a magnificent spectacle that unfolds in dimensions we cannot see, on scales we cannot feel, and in forms we cannot imagine. And yet, we have been able to decipher its code. You are a piece of the cosmos that has developed the audacity to study itself, using mathematical prostheses to see the invisible. Don't try to tame the universe with your logic. Instead, learn to admire its utter strangeness. Reality isn't obligated to make sense to you, but you have the privilege of being here, witnessing the absurd. Ultimately, the secret isn't solving the mystery, but having the intelligence to marvel at it. The universe is vast, bizarre, and impossible, and you are the consciousness that allows all of that strangeness to finally be appreciated.